to a group of forgotten individuals, the little people, whose labors are seldom recognized, stonemasons, engravers, and scribes, whose toil has preserved Ashoka's words for us to read. We know the name of only one, Chapada, whose work is found in the south using the Brahmi script, but who was a native of the northwest, because he wrote his name in his native Kharosti. There are others, sculptors, artists, quarry workers, engineers, and simple laborers, whose collective work created the magnificent pillars and capitals that are ascribed to Ashoka, and who go largely unrecognized. These artistic masterpieces are as much the product of these anonymous workers as they are Ashoka's. Let us spare a thought for these unsung heroes of Ashoka's legacy. Patrick Olivelle. Prologue. The Many Ashokas. Reimagining the past to imagine and thus construct the present is a deeply human trait. Our minds edit our memories. This imagining is done sometimes intentionally, but in the main unconsciously, by individuals and groups, be they social, political, or religious. Memory is complex and pliable. It is never a simple and straightforward presentation of the past, unconnected to the demands of the present. Memory both selects and suppresses features of the past and adds newly remembered features in creating a narrative that serves the needs of the present. So it was with the memory of Ashoka, the 3rd century BCE king, who ruled over a larger area of the Indian subcontinent than anyone else before British colonial rule. The fame of Ashoka spread far and wide, both in India and in other parts of Asia, a fame that prompted diverse reimaginations of the king and his significance. Such reimaginations in various strands of Buddhism and in Brahmanical Sanskrit texts, both within India and in regions of South, Southeast, Central, and East Asia, produced many Ashokas. In a seminal remark, the historian Robert Lingat notes, "There are in reality 2 Ashokas, the historical Ashoka whom we know through his inscriptions, and the legendary Ashoka, who is known to us through texts of diverse origins, Pali, Sanskrit, Chinese, and Tibetan." Although essentially correct, there are 2 problems with Lingat's assessment. First, it is simplistic to contrast the historical with the legendary. The portrait of Ashoka I have constructed in this book is based on Ashokan inscriptions and artifacts, yet it contains a heavy dose of interpretation, translation, imagination, narrative, perhaps bias, and within the constraints of my own abilities, even artistry. Others using these same sources would have, and indeed have, written different biographical narratives. The legendary is not simply false and to be dismissed. It is the reimagination of the past to serve present needs, something inherently human. These narratives were meaningful and important to the persons and communities that constructed them. Their purpose was not to do history in the modern sense of the term, but to do something that was much more significant to them in their own time. The second issue with Lingat's remark is that it posits a dichotomy. There are actually not 2, but several Ashokas, including modern ones. Just as the ancient Ramayana narrative has been appropriated, reimagined, and retold in different languages in different parts of India and Asia, so Ashoka has been narratively appropriated and reappropriated at different times by different peoples. That is the legacy of Ashoka. I will turn to that legacy at the end of my narrative. Briefly, though, there are at least 3 major strands of the Ashokan story in ancient South Asia. The first was constructed by Sri Lankan Buddhist chroniclers spanning the first 500 years of the Common Era in the Dipavamsa and the Mahavamsa, written in Pali. The theme around which this narrative is woven is the legitimation of Sri Lankan Buddhism of the Theravada tradition by establishing strong historical connections to Ashoka. He is credited with bringing Buddhism to Sri Lanka by sending his own son, Mahinda, and daughter, Sanghamitta, as missionaries.